And people have been running another hashtag, and that is someone tell the Star. And we have Kerich here. He's one of the lead editors at the Star. And this is about the story that was on June 14th about the ballot printing contract that was awarded to Al Ghurair. And this, if you can just get a screenshot of what I'm looking at here. And this is one of the officials there shaking hands with the president. And this is said to be late last year. Dubai ballot printing firm asked Uhuru for contract. And whoever posted this says the Star must apologize to the president or ship out. In fact, the paper is right there next to Mwende Mwinzi. If you could pass it down to me. Will you give a retraction to this particular story? You got a lot of flack for it.
Flack because we made a mistake, or flack because they did not like the story? I have said here many times that people react and respond to a story based on whether they think it favors them or whether they think it is against them. And you know, it's interesting that today you will be accused and they say you're in Jubilee's pocket completely. You even get tenders from government. And then tomorrow, the next thing is, oh, you know, you're working for Raila. So I always tell my colleagues, you know, if you're accused by both sides, it means you're doing a fairly good job. You know, a long time ago, people used to respond to what they read in the media by sending a letter to the editor. And then the editor would receive it and decide, okay, this looks good, let me publish it. And then people might or might not see that letter to the editor. Nowadays, the letter to the editor is, you know, written by people who are really dedicated to that column. Otherwise, people react instantly on social media. Right. So when somebody creates a hashtag and says, someone tell the Star, obviously, it is because they do not like the story. But I keep asking, is it true or is it not true? Yes. You know, and if you create that and use it for cyberbullying, for example, you want to use it to call people names, that's your choice, really. But I think what's very important is, as practitioners also, we develop a thick skin. People insult you and so on. We take criticism and then we sieve it. And we're not in the business to be liked. If we find that the criticism is genuine and we've made a mistake, we carry a retraction, we carry an apology, we carry an explanation. We have a lot of clarifications in this newspaper because we have a policy that if we misspell Etale's name and he says my name is Etale, not Atule, that alone is enough for us to put a clarification. And in this case, no. The contract was awarded to Al Ghurair. The person leading the Chamber of Commerce delegation here is the chairman of Al Ghurair Printing. If you go to the website of the Dubai Chamber of Commerce, you will find pictures of this guy saying he's been appointed by the Sultan Ibn somebody to be the chairman of the Chamber of Commerce. It cannot be by coincidence that you have two printing companies which are both called Al Ghurair. And this is something that Tuju wants to respond. I think, first of all, I mean, if you could show that article again. First of all, to say Dubai ballot printing firm asked Uhuru for contract. Asked Uhuru for contract. Do you have that evidence? You see, this is the difference between yellow gutter journalism and professional journalism. Do you have any evidence that he actually asked for it? Simple, straightforward. That's my profession, Chief, and I know what I'm talking about here. All right? So can I answer that? No, wait. Then you show a picture of Al Ghurair Saif, the head of the printing company you're talking about is Al Ghurair Abdallah. They are members of the same family, but the truth of the matter is that Al Ghurair Saif is in the petroleum and real estate business and, you know, petrochemicals. He's not the same guy. It's like saying that if Kerich has a brother who is in the journalism business, then definitely the other brother who is also called Kerich must also be involved in the journalism business. The truth of the matter is that they are two different people. Now, of course, you planted that seed. It was very deliberate to plant a seed of doubt in the minds of Kenyans. But you don't even have the decency to explain that. Let me also educate you something. That Al Ghurair Saif has just become chairman of that company. The former chairman is their father called Abdullah, who is the chairman, who is the father of both these people. You are saying one is in cement, one is in petrol, one is in printing, but they are all one family. It's a family business.
Next. The thing is that he is not Al Ghurair Abdallah, who is the director and head of.
So what are we saying? That it is not the Al Ghurair family that was given.
And then the next thing. Do you have evidence that he asked for that contract? Do you have any evidence?
You know,
no.
Not
Do you have
everything
evidence?
that is published in the newspaper is with evidence.
In the story,
if you get three people who are in a room and say, so and so said this, and then you bounce it off somebody else. And
the picture you show.
Hold on, let me finish. Then you ask somebody else, what happened? And he said, oh, in fact, this is what Mheshimiwa said. And you ask the third person and he said, this is what happened. You do not need to tell them, bring evidence. I mean, you bounce it off different people.
I cannot imagine that in a trip where he went there as chairman of the Dubai...
No. Did you read the story?
Yes, I read the story. As the chairman of the Dubai. But then your headline is accusatory.
Yes.
Why do you need to read the story? No. Your headline is accusatory. You say he asked. Well, did he tell you he asked? Or did the president tell you he asked? Or do you have any evidence he asked?
Cannot say he asked.
Yeah, okay.
Neither can Al Ghurair say he asked.
So you assume he asked?
No, we did not assume he asked.
But the bottom line is it's been scrutinized. This whole tendering process has been scrutinized and it's been found to be above board. I think that's the bottom line.
Well, hold on.
That's the bottom line.
Let's respond to particularly how this particular story was said. It picks out two meetings, one in February.
One in Dubai, one in
Nairobi.
Now, if there was,
November.
I mean, the Chamber of Commerce strenuously called to say that, look, there was no separate meeting, there was no separate discussion. Nobody said there was a separate discussion in State House.
And in this asked,
nobody.
Isn't this asking, wouldn't it happen?
Yeah, when did it happen?
Wouldn't it happen, Bwana Tuju, within the meetings?
Yes. Now, first of all, you're telling me there's a picture of a Chamber of Commerce which has gone to State House.
A delegation.
A delegation.
Yeah.
There are many people in that place. All right? Even if a meeting took place in Dubai, anytime the president goes outside, he has met Chamber of Commerce of Germany, correct, Chamber of Commerce of the UK, Chamber of Commerce in so many countries with whom we have trade. Do you want to tell me that every time he's met those people and shook hands with the chairman and the delegation, it means that they've asked for something?
So how do you know he did not ask?
Look, I mean,
but is
that so
well, I have explained myself and I have defended
so
let's
give an opportunity.
I have defended it.
Let's give an opportunity to
demolish it. What are you demolishing it based on? What are you demolishing it based on?
I think the unfortunate thing is that we are getting derailed. I think for me, the important thing is that this whole discussion would not have arisen if the tendering process from the word go had been above board. It was not. That is the problem. Because single sourcing of these IEBC tenders is what caused problems in 2013, is what caused problems with the previous commission, is what caused the so-called chicken gate problem. And these particular fellows running the IEBC now seem to have been hell-bent on circumventing all known procurement laws to make sure that this company gets the tender. That is the problem.
That is a problem. And that's perhaps what the story was.
Not within my knowledge, I may not want to talk about. But there is no dispute that this tender was rigged for this company so that it was given on single sourcing. Not just this one, and even the one for the electronic voter identification.
Masai, do you believe that single sourcing can be justified?
A quick response, and then it's
in very rare circumstances.
I want to put this on record.
But in this case,
I want to put this on record.
Clear circumvention.
I want to put this on record.
Yes.
As far as Jubilee is concerned, and we've gone on record on this, we don't care who is doing this job. I was actually called, as well as ODM people are called, and they told us about they're going to go single sourcing. They didn't tell us who it was going to be. But my response to them, and I stand until today, is that we don't care who is doing this job because procurement is none of our business. So if the IEBC made a mistake, they have to carry their own baby. It is not my brief to protect their position. All right? So that is clear. What I'm talking about is when a newspaper puts a headline saying that these people asked the president, And he says his defense is that what proof do I have that they did not ask?
No.
I've never seen anything more pedestrian than that.
I had explained way before. That was when I explained how we sourced the story.
Do you agree
then
that,
you say, where is the evidence? And I was explaining to you that not every story has a piece of paper that you can put there and say, this is the evidence.
Do you even have the intellectual honesty? Do you have the intellectual honesty to say that that headline is misleading? At least that intellectual honesty.
Do you also have the intellectual honesty to say that there is a company called Al Ghurair printing a ballot and they have a meeting as whether it is as chamber or something to say that maybe there was something not right here?
Etale.
I think that's a good banter between these two fellas. But what I would say here is...
Amazing. Just amazing. It's beyond me, sir.
The truth of the matter is, I don't think it's the reason why Jubilee Secretary General is talking tough here about and defending the government and IEBC. Apparently he has become the spokesperson of the IEBC.
I don't defend IEBC.
What I'm trying to say is...
don't put words into my mouth. I did not defend IEBC. I've put it on the record. I don't care.
We've had
you don't work for IEBC.
We've had you, Mheshimiwa. The moment the presidential candidate of NASA spoke about this thing and mentioned some family members of the Kenyatas as being involved in this thing, being partners in that Al Ghurair company. That's when Jubilee began to realize, oh, our goose is cooked. And that's why they are very much defensive. They are very much on the offensive because they know that the truth, the truth of the matter is some family members in the president's family are partners in this particular company. I'll not delve into that.
Could it be that
let me talk. Mwende, you had your time.
His South African friends.
You had your time.
He has vested interest as well.
The first South African guy responded and said he has never met
serious money to his campaign.
The right Honorable Odinga. He has never met him. He has never had any discussion with him with regard to this.
So you say.
And it ended at that.
So
but what we should be focusing on...
We have more information. You are in court on the same side with the PAL media. You are in court twice.
Can I be allowed with the PAL media?
Be honest.
Because these Jubilee chatterboxes are making a lot of noise here. We need to be heard also. We need to be heard.
Speak.
We want to be heard. Because the position of
we want to hear you, but we don't want to hear rubbish.
There's no rubbish here. You have to respect other people.
Etale, speak. We actually are
no matter how
you call us chatterboxes. You call us chatterboxes.
No. You have
to
respect other people's views.
Respect the same.
You have to respect other people's views.
You call us chatterboxes.
Let's not inch closer to. All right, gentlemen.
Can we call a ceasefire?
Yes.
Or let these two guys go.
No. Let me say what I wanted to say.
Let's not suggest that.
Let me say what I wanted to say.
Let me say what I wanted to say. Really quick. We have to wrap up.
The position of NASA is very clear. It's a no for Al Ghurair company. We are very comfortable with any other company being awarded this tender to print the ballot papers, but not Al Ghurair company. And this one, there's no compromise on this because we know the tender is already compromised. Single sourcing by the IEBC was done with instigation from Jubilee and State House in quotes, and there are people who are pushing for this tender because they know what they are going to benefit from if this company is given the go-ahead to print this ballot.
Bottom line of this particular story is transparency.
It is transparency. If Jesus brought his company, if Jesus literally brought his company, ODM
bringing Jesus in this.
Because we're talking about transparency, we're talking about honesty. They are simply afraid. They know that they're losing this election. They're trying to cast doubt on every institution in this country, denting its credibility. No matter who brought a company, they would find one reason or another to make Kenyans believe that they're going to be rigged out. Unfortunately, they're not going to be rigged out. They are going to very squarely and fairly
again, you're getting into the campaigning kind of sound.
Okay.
But in telling the story, the media has told the side of NASA, the side of Jubilee, with the complaints or reservations about Al Ghurair and as well as the PAL media. But it has been bad.
There's something else which the media is missing here, and this is unfortunate. So far, ODM has put a total of 11 roadblocks. 11 roadblocks to having the elections in August. They did threaten that if we're going to have manual backup, there's not going to be elections. They threatened they'll boycott. Now, of course, I'm hearing another threat from him that Al Ghurair is a no-no. I hope you boycott the elections, because let me tell you, the country will move forward. You know, you are in court on the issues, even transfers of returning officers. They're in court about that. That has not been adjudicated. You're in court on issues of announcement of results. You want us to have, I don't know, 270 returning officers for the presidential vote, as opposed to what is the Constitution. I don't want to talk about that. That is in court. Let the courts decide. We are happy with that. Let me tell you, whether the printing is done by Al Ghurair, or is done by PAL Media, or is done by the companies owned by some of your principals, we don't care.
All right. As part of our elections desk here at Nation Media, you can speak for Nation Media, the commitment in pursuing this particular story. There's the pressure of time, that you're told we don't have time to seek any other alternative. So there's pressure in at least telling this particular narrative.
The sad thing is that this pressure of time was created deliberately by the Electoral Commission. I would not want to get into the cockfights between Jubilee and NASA.
That is the spice of this show.
They will always do that.
That's the spice of this show. It should be very boring without us.
For me, what should be of concern to all of us as Kenyans, as voters, and also as the media, is that we are in danger of going into an election with a compromised electoral system. Whether it is the electronic gadgets for voter identification and transmission of votes, or even whoever prints the ballot paper. I really don't care who prints it. But as long as there is room for suspicion, that is bad enough. Because the Electoral Commission should be beyond suspicion. It should be as pure as Caesar's wife. The moment it got itself into this shenanigans of rigging the procurement, it caused problems which it now can't get out of.
Yes.
And then it then comes and tells us we are out of time. But they are the ones who deliberately made us run out of time.
That's inflammatory. Right?
But one thing that has actually been asked, which is a genuine question out there, is does NASA really want to hold the election, or do they want to stop the election? I mean, now let me switch to the other side. Because there's a lot going on to suggest that, everything must come to a standstill until this is resolved, and then something else comes up. And to me, what has been very surprising is how the judiciary and the court system has failed to realize the gravity of the timelines that have been put forth, and keep putting injunction after injunction. And at some point you ask yourself, is a tender war between two companies more important than the interest of 45 million Kenyans to have an orderly election on time? So at some point, when people ask, does NASA want to have elections, it might sound like a ridiculous question, but there are so many initiatives that they are taking that look like they are really trying to block the elections from holding.
Your approach as editor-in-chief, Radio Africa?
No, it is of course, critical thinking. You have to analyze and question things and critique things. And you critique things based on facts. And many times when we are sitting to discuss our editorial meetings and the leader, and we ask, why did the court again grant another injunction and another one? And you begin to wonder that there is a systemic problem here, where maybe one side of the coalition wants to be guaranteed a smooth ride, everything done the way they want, and there's no give and take. And then the judiciary doesn't recognize the deadlines involved and the importance and the consequences of giving in to everything that comes to court.
We're out of time, so I need to
let him because I have said
the last
something
few
probably.
Seconds. 10 seconds. 10 seconds.
Mark, wisdom demands that we should not belabor this point too much, because it's obvious that the position of NASA is not going to change.
All right.
And we're not going to bend rules to please a regime that knows that is going to be defeated in the election to suit them. We're not going to suit them. We're not going to pamper them. We're not going to bembeleza them anymore, because we need a credible election. And peace is as a result of a credible election. We need a credible election for us to have peace in this country. And that is what every Kenyan would wish.
May I ask one question on your behalf? Does NASA want the election on the 8th of August?
Definitely yes. We want the election on the 8th of August.
Not.
But this narrative of we don't want election is, I think, is hogwash. We don't need to. I mean, they run around with it all over they go. Talk about it. You know, NASA is very ready for the election. Only that Jubilee is trying to manipulate the systems of this election of the electoral process.
You've had your say.
I want to be with him on at least on this point. I want to congratulate him most sincerely that you do realize that the elections will be held on the 8th of August, no matter what. It is in the Constitution. If we don't have the elections on the 8th of August, we'll end up in a constitutional crisis. I only sympathize. I hope that your principals who have put 8 roadblocks so far will not end up, you will not get into problems with that.
All right.
But if we all understand that the elections have to be on the 8th of August or a constitutional crisis, because you'll have a vacuum situation. If you have a vacuum situation, it is a recipe for disaster. Unless the desire, of course, is to rig the leadership of the next in the next dispensation by having a Nusumukati arrangement, which is a form
that's another narrative that's being run. Real quick, and then Macharia.
Yes, I think the bottom line is Kenyans are looking forward to August 8th. As an aspirant, I'm looking forward to August 8th. We want to call for peaceful, fair, and transparent elections. We completely reject the Nasamkate, and we will.
You mean?
No, Nasamkate. And we will vote, and may God's will be done.
All right, Macharia, I'll give you the last.
First of all, there's something Etale which wanted to say, but I think he's a bit shy. He wanted to congratulate Mwende on her choice of color.
Yeah. It's light red. It's light red.
It's not orange this thing. Macharia, really quick.
I think we're in a terrible situation because we have two political groupings which behave like two small kids in a pissing contest.
Ouch.
Really. And yet, if we recognize that we have a problem with the electoral deadlines, I think mature grown-up people would go and sit down and say, how can we solve this to the satisfaction of both sides? But here what we're having, ultimatums, ultimatum after ultimatums from both sides. And I think Kenyans should wake up and say, wait a minute, are any of you worth our time?
All right. Speaking of which, that's the right word to end it with. Our time is over. Thank you for watching, and thank you for being on the panel. Lady and gentlemen, you've talked about pissing contests. I need to go now. Thank you to the team, Mike, D, and Peke, and the rest in the studio that you don't get to see here. Thank you for staying on and watching. My name is Mark Masai. Good night.